kinds of things. So the way we've looked at all of our lines so far is slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. There is another option for writing the equation, which is point-slope form. So you don't necessarily have to write down all the words, but if you want, write down point-slope form and put this equation. This is just another tool. You can use it. You don't have to. You can write all of your equations using the slope-intercept. I do think there is one question on the Math Excel that asks for this, so that's why I want you to make sure and get it down in your notes. And I put that one question on the homework just so you would try it, but otherwise, if you don't like this way, you don't have to use it. And just giving you more options on how to come up with your equation. So, in this, m is still your slope. X and y are the variables x and y that we have in our equation. The x sub 1 and y sub 1 are just a point on your line. And it can be any point. So we'll take an example and I will use this form to write the equation. So let's do slope-intercept. Let's do point-slope and slope-intercept. Of this line, going through these points. So first, what am I going to have to do?
Find the slope.
Find the slope. So we were doing that on our homework. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So we get the slope of negative 2. Then we take 1 point. Let's just go with the first one. If I ask for point slope, and like I said, I'm going to ask for it one time on homework, and that's the only time I will ever tell you you have to use this form. Okay. It's y minus y sub 1 is just the y value of the ordered pair, so 7, equals m, so the slope is negative 2, parentheses, x minus the x value of that ordered pair is 1. Okay, even if you write it in point slope, we usually end up turning it into slope-intercept from there. So that's the point slope. Then what would you have to do to that? We distribute that negative 2, and then we need to add over the 7. So that's negative 2x plus 9. That's your actual slope-intercept form that you would use for your final answer. So that's the equation like we're used to seeing it. Any questions on that one? So let's do it another way. If you don't want to use point slope, let's talk about what we need to do to write the equation. So I'm just going to give you a table of values. These are points on the graph of my line. How many points do you need to write an equation? 2. So I can take any 2 of these. Give me one of them.
3, 5, 9.
3, 5, and I heard 5, 9. There's 2 points. What do I need to do with those?
Find the slope.
Okay. Slope is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So I get 4 divided by 2, which is 2. Then you need to take one of your points and your slope. You can use the point slope form, or you can just plug directly into y equals mx plus b, which I think is how you guys typically did it. So the y value is 5. your m is 2, x is 3 plus b. I subtract my 6. My y-intercept is negative 1. So now I have my m and my b, so the final equation y equals 2x minus 1. Do any of you prefer the point slope like I did the first one? Everybody's good with this way if I continue doing this for the rest of them? There was one other form that you sometimes had for your lines. That was standard form. Do you guys remember talking about that at all? So standard form is ax plus by equals c. A, b, and c have to be integers, so no fractions or decimals. The a has to be a positive, and they can't have a greatest common factor other than 1. So like if they're all even, you would need to divide them by 2. So you might jot down what your standard form looks like. I might ask you to write it in standard form on equal. Let's say the slope is 1/4, and it goes through the point -2, 1. So start out, we have a point and a slope, so I can just go straight to my y equals mx plus b. The y is 1, m is 1/4, x is -2. 1/4 times -2 would be a -1/2. Add the 1/2 over. 1 plus 1/2 is 3/2. So our equation is y equals 1/4 x plus 3/2. That's slope intercept. If I said standard, ax plus by equals c, I need x and y on the same side. So what should I do first? And I'm just going to put that in front of my y, so it's a -1/4 x plus y equals 3/2. Okay? I said we can't have any fractions or decimals, and x has to be positive. So I need to make this x positive and get rid of the fraction. What would I have to multiply by to do that? A negative would make it positive. To get rid of the 1/4, you could take it times a 4. So -4 times -1/4 is just a positive 1x minus 4y. -4 times 3/2 is -6. All my fractions are gone. X is positive, so that's standard. So you just manipulate your equation at the end. Nothing else that you have to do there. How much of this do you guys remember? Are we okay with that example? I want you guys to do this next problem. It's kind of a review from yesterday and the day before. I want you to draw me a graph using the x and y intercepts. So I want you to find the x-intercept and the y-intercept and then draw the graph for me. So you can do cover-up method if you want. X-intercept, you cover up the y, or think of it as plugging in a 0 for your y. So either way, you get 4x equals 12, so x is 3. So on my graph, we hit the x-axis at positive 3. If I asked for the ordered pair, what would it be?
3.
Y-intercept, you can think of it as covering up the x or plugging in a 0 for your x. So you get 4. You hit the y-axis at 4. What's the point for that one? What's the ordered pair for the y-intercept?
0,
And we can get our line. So just a quick refresher on intercepts and graphing. Is that all right? Last thing I'm going to talk about is parallel and perpendicular. What does it mean if lines are parallel?
They'll know that touch.
Okay, so parallel lines means they don't touch, so they have the same slope. So if you're trying to be concise in your notes, you need to write down parallel lines, same slope. They're never going to meet, so the slopes have to be the same. What's true about perpendicular lines?
So eventually touch.
And when they touch, what do they form?
90 degree angle.
Yes. Perpendicular lines meet at a right angle. What's true about their slopes?
Opposite. So if one slope is 2, then the other slope is make it up on half.
Good. So the slopes are opposite reciprocals. Means if you know one, you flip it and change the sign to get the other. So I'm going to do an example of each of these, and then I'm going to give you guys time to work.
Oh, we're on the math exam.
So I want the equation of line that goes through the point 3, 5 and is parallel to 2x plus 5y equals 4. What does parallel mean?
Means they don't touch when they're near each other.
So our slopes are going to be the same. How do I find the slope of this line?
Subtract 2x from both sides, then divide by 5.
Right, we have to solve for the y. If I subtract my 2x, divide everything by 5, so we get y equals a negative 2/5 x plus 4/5. I stick with fractions rather than going to decimals. Just for graphing purposes, it's easier. Okay, now we have a point. What slope are we going to be using? They're parallel, so same slope. So now we can plug into y equals mx plus b. So the y is 5, my m negative 2/5, x is 3, plus b. Add over the 6/5. Get 31 over 5. You guys checking me? So now I have my m and I have my b, so the final equation is y equals negative 2/5 x plus 31/5. Questions on that one? Did you not get it?
I'm getting 19 over 5.
What if I did the exact same thing, but I changed it to perpendicular? So same point, same line, but now I want perpendicular. So we already know the slope of this line from the previous example was negative 2/5, right? We already worked that out. So what slope am I going to be using for my perpendicular line? I flip it and change the slope. So I have a slope of 5/2 and a point 3, 5. So plug into y equals mx plus b. Which slope do we use when we write it? Yeah. This -2/5, I only use it to get my perpendicular, and then I'm never going to look at it again. Here's my slope, here's my y-intercept. Is this stuff okay? So we've got quite a bit of time left. There is an 11 question, I think, Math Excel